What a shocker that the people who see everything through the lens of race and sex see their election loss as a result of racism and sexism.
I believe that racism and misogyny, they're just alive and well.
But that's not, it doesn't say I'm white, I voted for Donald Trump because of racism. That's not what stat. What stat are you talking about?
Let me just dissect.
All right, so first it was Morning Joe. Now it's Bill Maher who's catching heat from The View, and particularly Sunny Hostin, who's continuing to get into fights with people on the show, which we're going to show you, to the point where Whoopi Goldberg had to jump in. This is happening because ratings are dipping, they're panicking, and they still refuse to accept what happened in this election. So let's see what Bill Maher said that caused Sunny Hostin to lose her mind.
Someone must tell the usual suspects on the far left that the saying is, when you're in a hole, stop digging. You just lost a crazy contest to an actual crazy person. What a shocker that the people who see everything through the lens of race and sex see their election loss as a result of racism and sexism. Yes, if only we weren't so irredeemably unenlightened, we would have elected a black president by now. Oh, what, we did? Asked if racism is built into our society. White progressives agreed with that at higher levels than black and Hispanic people. They don't want your pity. And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class? I mean, you know, again, I got my popcorn. I don't know why people did what they did. I see all these reasons. And so, okay, time will tell. But what do y'all think?
Well, I'll tell you what I think. It's very clear that what he was saying is correct. It is that simple, stupid. I mean, Jesus, I mean, when are they going to get it, right? They believe it's due to identity politics. But then when we go the identity politics route, they say they weren't using identity politics, that Republicans were. So make it make sense. And let's not forget, if you're getting value from this show, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. If you want to support us further, go to the link in the description below, shop our merch store, or buy us a cup of coffee. Now, one thing is for sure, even if I agreed with you, Whoopi, that she did have plans, the problem is she never did any of it while she was vice president. Joe Biden didn't do any of it while he was president. So why would I take a gamble on someone who's offering me to do something, but they could have already done it? No, thank you.
I just, you know, I know that as a country, it's very difficult for people to believe that racism and misogyny, they're just alive and well. I think that we don't want to think that about ourselves, our neighbors, our friends. But it's my lived experience tells me that it does still exist, even if your lived experience doesn't tell you that it exists. And, you know, the facts support that. I think we have a graph. If you look at there's a clear racial divide in who voted for Trump as opposed to who voted for Kamala Harris. It's very clear. It's not only clear by race, but it's also clear by education. And so the notion somehow that that is not true, this is by education. Those who attended college voted for her at a higher degree than those that didn't.
But I think
I've said that.
his point.
Let me just finish. And so I've said that before, and there was so much backlash because I think it's an uncomfortable, inconvenient truth about.
No, it's not an inconvenient truth. It's that your perception of that truth is false. And what I mean by that is this. Just because we're separating people by race or what their education was, still doesn't mean that they're racist. In fact, what it shows you is that if we looked at Joe Biden's numbers from 2020, which were far more superior than Kamala Harris, it nips your argument in the butt because Joe Biden is a white dude on record of being racist and telling people, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. And he still got better numbers than Kamala Harris. So is it really about racism at that point?
But his whole point is they didn't vote for him because of racism and misogyny. They voted for him because they felt like, I think the biggest common denominator in this election is people want a good life and ability to provide for their family.
Well,
and whether we agree or not with Donald Trump's plans,
black people
they thought that he was reflective.
One of the poorest demographics in this country, but they voted for Kamala Harris.
But there was a split, and more of them voted for Donald Trump than had historically. I think that there's such a desire. If you really think the vast majority of this country voted because of racism and misogyny.
I didn't
You're
say the
missing
vast-
it. Most of my
I didn't say
family,
the vast
a lot of my
majority,
family
Alyssa,
doesn't have college
but
degrees.
The stats are the stats.
But that's not, it doesn't say
They're-
I voted for Donald Trump because of racism. That's not, let me just ask. What stat are you talking about?
Let me just dissect the
Yes,
two.
you can. There's a lot
Hold
more
on,
to this.
hold on.
Let me just-
Calm down. Everybody just take a breath. Take a breath.
Okay, well, listen, at this point, if they continue to talk about what happened in this election, they will continue to fight amongst each other because Sunny Hostin is not going to approach this from a common sense perspective. She is not open-minded. She's already made up her mind that it is due to sexism and misogyny, and no person in this world is going to be able to convince her of that. Now, for the adults in the room who do have an open mind and are curious, the fact remains it is simple. The economy, okay, and immigration. It's not our fault. It's not the Republicans' fault that the Democrats massively underestimated that issue. They didn't listen to their voters. They refused to pay attention to it.
He says that folks see everything through the lens of racism and sexism. Not everything. But if you're not seeing racism and sexism in America, then you need to clean your lenses.
But if I
because,
can point-
this is something that I also find interesting, that when Democrats and liberals talk about race or sexism, it's immediately labeled as identity politics, which has a negative connotation. It's a term that Republicans have coined, and it's been very effective. But when Donald Trump goes to Miami and talks to Cubans, that's not identity politics. When Donald Trump goes to Dearborn, Michigan, and promises Arabs something, that's not identity politics. When he goes to Jews and promises them the opposite, that's not identity politics.
Yeah, see, the difference is when Republicans do it, it's more genuine and it's not based on woke ideology. It's based on common sense. It is common sense to go speak to people where they're at, right? And to make that connection, to go into areas of a community that historically Republicans wouldn't go to, but because Trump is trying to be a president for all, he would go there and make those connections. And let's just keep it honest. Kamala Harris was such a weak candidate. Those were weaknesses on the board. So it makes sense as a competitor. Yep, I'm going to go hit that. I'm going to go hit that. I'm going to go hit that. Why? Because we know she wasn't strong in those areas. All right. Now, here is a more common sense approach to this entire topic. Is there sexism, racism, misogyny in this country? Absolutely. Are there people who literally live their lives that way that voted in this election? Absolutely. But did that decide the election? No, it didn't. So then why spend all this time talking about this when it wasn't even the contributing factor, the main factor, the X factor to the election results? Kamala Harris was a weak candidate. Her campaign message was a walking contradiction. She's part of the incumbent party. History tells us they don't win re-election when things are this bad. Immigration, economy, cost of living, foreign policy, that was all L's in her column. Why not just focus on that? So let's revisit some of these graphs that he had in his video that I think are important to his conversation. Percentage that agrees with this statement. America is the greatest country in the world. Hispanics come in at 75%. Black people come in at 58%. White progressives come in at 31%. Now that tells the story on why progressive ideals are a disease to this country. Here's another one. Percentage that agrees with this statement. Racism is built into our society. 38% say Hispanic, 62% for Black, 75% for progressives. So white progressives are more sensitive to racism than Black people are. Make that make sense. And of course, this is what decided the election. Remember, 49% of Hispanics agree that government should increase border security and enforcement. White progressives, 15%. So let's take a look at Blue Skies, which is pretty much the source of where all the progressives ran to. And here is how they are melting down about what Bill Maher said. Here's a good one. God, I hate Bill Maher. I wonder why. Here's another one. Bill Maher is a dumbass with horrible political analysis. That's the post. Got it. This is obviously reacting to the title of this article, which is Bill Maher, Stupid Dems Need to Ditch Identity Politics, which is facts. See, the problem with the Democratic Party is they're not ready to change because they don't even acknowledge they have a problem. They don't even believe that they were guilty of using identity politics and it didn't work for them. I mean, they're that unhinged. Here's another one. Bill Maher is an unsufferable a-hole. Got it. Now, here's a deranged one. If Bill Maher is saying it, then do the opposite. So sick of these white men telling Dems how to run the party. They are basically saying ignore the base and center us dude bros. No. Let me correct that for you. They're basically saying to start using common sense and ignore how stupid you guys have been. Oh, here's another one. I'm sick of people like Bill Maher saying Democrats didn't offer voters anything. Dems offered reduced taxes, protection of Social Security, access to affordable health care, protection of constitutional rights, best economy in the world. The problem, though, is only one on that entire list was actually an issue for people in this election. And when I say issue, I'm talking about top three. Nothing that this person listed besides the last one even went to the top three. Cost of living, immigration, crime and safety, or abortion, or foreign policy. Come on, guys. Okay, so here's a question for you. If you could choose one thing that you could say has been the downfall for the Democratic Party, what would that one thing be for you? Now, for me, put your answer in the comment section and explain why. For me, it's progressives. So they have hijacked the Democratic Party and has caused that party to go too far left. And that's why you had a lot of moderate Democrats shaking their head and saying, what is going on here? Even before the election took place. Now, you've seen the backlash and the meltdown from The View attacking Bill Maher over his comments. But he wasn't the only one that caught heat from them. Morning Joe, who met with Trump over the weekend on Friday so that they can open up a line of communication. In other words, so they can save their dying show due to terrible ratings. Well, we did a video reacting to all of that. And if you want to take a look at it, all you have to do is click on it because it's coming up right now.